Continuing. Um, so Salakia, I'm gonna start reading into the book, and the chapter is called Apocalypse, by Lewis Dartnell. But first, I want to go bring up that definition, because, like I said, you got the word apocalypse, and then you got two different definitions of it. You got one from Wikipedia. I don't know whose this is. I guess this is Google's or whatnot. It says apocalypse, the complete final destruction of the world, and as described in the biblical book of Revelations, an event involving destruction or damage on an awesome or catastrophic scale, a stock market apocalypse. Now, Old English via Old French ecclesiastical Latin from Greek. It's from the Greek apocalypse, from apoco, apocalyptin, uncover, reveal, from apocalyptin, to cover. Apocalypse is a Greek word meaning revelation, an unveiling or unfolding of things not previously known and which could not be known apart from the unveiling. As a genre, apocalyptic literature details the author's visions of the end times as revealed by an angel or other heavenly messenger. So my point being is the original word means to uncover or reveal or revelation. So when you sing that apocalypse, that's what the book of Revelations. That's what you see. Sometimes you see the apocalypse, and then sometimes you see the book of Revelations. But it's the revealing, unveiling. So like in these, now this is like I say, a scientist. He's considered, knowledgeable in society. You know what I mean? But yeah, just funny to me how people are knowledgeable about the wrong shit. So the chapter is called Apocalypse by Lewis Dartnell. Everything not saved will be lost. It reads Nintendo Super Mario Galaxy Quit Screen Message from the End Games by Michael Salakia by T. Michael Martin. Many of the chapters in this book have looked at what's appearing on the horizon in terms of our deep scientific understanding of the universe or advanced technologies that could revolutionize how we live our lives. But what I want to explore is some of the ways in which this might not go according to plan, which is not. You know what I'm saying? Like it tells you in scripture, how things are going to be played out. This is Esau plan, but the Most High put that in their spirit, what I mean, to be like that. That's how cold the Most High is. He gave him the knowledge to create the same devices that's going to take them out. That's cold. In order to understand what may happen in the future, we can turn to the past and learn from our own history. And you got to realize if that's the case, if they really looking at that, every major civilization at the what's the apex at the apex of their technology and the grandeur of their civilization, that's when the Most High brought them low. That's why what's that scripture? I think it's in Proverbs. Pride come before the fall. Because at the height of your pride is when the Most High brings you low. You know what I mean? That's not it. Bear with me for a second. Continue. It's Proverbs 16 and 18. Pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. So, bear with me for a second. Haunty, goodbye, height, exhaustion, height, exalted, grandeur, haughtiness. I'm trying to find a proper definition of Slovakia. Arrogant, superior, haughty. This is the definition of haughty. Arrogant, superior, disdainful. And synonyms: proud, vain, arrogant, conceited, snobbish, stuck up, pompous, self important, egotistical, condescending, lofty, patronizing, smug, scornful, contemptuous, disdainful, overweening, overbearing, imperious, lordly, cavalier, high handed, full of oneself, above oneself. So basically, when this society, like all other ones, because you got to remember, look at ancient Babylon. They had floating fucking gardens. You know what I mean? They can't even reproduce that, but we supposed to be more intelligent today than they was. And I heard Apostle Tahar speak on something. He said, the internet is not new technology, and I can believe that. Want to know why? Because these people ain't actually created shit. They, like, for instance, with math, they didn't create math. They basically discovered math, just like with the whole internet. Internet, like I was telling somebody, you know what I mean. When you go into, that's why Tesla is so revered, and that's why I see why, I believe it too, but I can see why. Like when I was first coming in the truth, I was always taught that, that believe Tesla is an Israelite, and that proves if you have a spiritual eye or not, because it's looking beyond. They quick to call us racist, but how the fuck we racist? We'll look at somebody and he could be whiter or so called white, or he could have no melanin, and he could look like a Leonardo DiCaprio. We'd be like, oh yeah, that's a Israelite. They'd be like, what the fuck wrong with them? You know what I mean? Because we ain't looking at the outward appearance. You know what I'm saying? We looking at the spirit of the person. You know what I mean? Like Tesla invented all those things and then died like a fucking red fox or something. And Israelites tend to, what's the scripture? I think it's in Deuteronomy 28. It says, curse go in, curse coming in, and curse going out. So, coming to the world lowly, usually leave the world poor. Came into the world poor, leave the world poor. And like I said, and people like that paid all them dues and had real talent. We ain't talking about today where you willing to suck a dick or, do some compromising shit just to get some, airplay or whatnot. We talking about real talented people. Red Fox is actually talented. Certain people are actually talented. I ain't mean to digress, because, like I said, I meant to try and read as much as this possible. But my point of bringing all that up, it was saying how in, in order to understand what will happen in the future, we turn to the past and learn from our own history. And like I said, when you go back to Babylon, look at ancient Egypt, look at Medio Persia, look at look at Greece. You know what I mean? Look at Rome. I mean, look at the structures that were built. You know what I mean? And then people sit up there and talk about how when we say this is modern day Rome, you can't see it. But if you go take us some pictures of, and the funny part is, like, if you, like, some people have never been out of the state, so I have had an opportunity to go out of the state. Maybe didn't enjoy it like that, but I've been to other places, and like, if you ever looked at their court buildings and whatnot, they're shaped or built in a way that reminds you of ancient structures in those ancient lands in Greece and Rome. You know what I mean? Kind of like their actual court buildings and whatnot, of the Senate and shit like that. So at the end of the day, how can't you tell these the same people? You know what I mean? Like when they was breaking down the prophecy of the eagle. You know what I mean? Like when you really go into the Edomites' history, these Edomites usually always symbolize themselves as the eagle. From Rome to Greece to, you know what I'm saying, America, you know what I'm saying? I think France do it. So at the end of the day, how's that? And they did it then, they do it now. You know. So at the end of the day, how could you realize that these people? I mean, come on. They say it's documented that Alexander the Great, you could trace his lineage back to Idumea. You know. Anyhow, so if you really, or if they really was going by what they said, you gotta understand your past to, you know, understand what may happen in the future. Then you should understand if all those, great civilizations were all taken out and brought low by the Most High, why wouldn't this piece of shit place be brought low? I mean, so you take time to think about it. I mean, I don't know, like a man. It was a scripture that I never heard, or I don't recall hearing that the brothers brought out. There's something that goes along the lines of something about when you turn from sin that Salakia. Salakia. Like I was saying, it's a scripture. It say, I think I found it. The brother brought it up, and I don't remember. It says, "The judgments turned away backward, and justice standing far from the truth. Yea, truth felleth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. And the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was." So it said, "Yea, truth felleth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey." So at the end of the day, like when men that are in this truth, that's trying to do the will of Yahweh by Yahshua Yahweh Shah, sincerely, um, this road is not an easy road because you're still in the world, but you're not of the world. So you know, I can't see them. I mean, even like that's the spirit. Maybe it's meant for me to talk on it or speak on it. That I was listening to some of the brothers. Like when they were saying how like with money, you know what I mean. Money is a defense. It's not your it's not your God. You ain't supposed to worship it. It's a balance to this thing. You're supposed to have, and sometimes you're supposed to see what it feel like to have not. Because how could you respect having if you never had? I mean, like for instance, like with fasting, you got some people that have never stopped putting food in their mouth. You know what I mean? You know, so how are they gonna react in that day when it ain't no food? We brothers, we fast. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm gonna try not to speak for anybody else. I can't speak for anybody else. I only speak for myself. Like I just recently did a fast, but none of that's not. I mean, not glorifying and not trying to. What I'm saying is, but I know before I was, like the Lord just blessed me with a place and whatnot. Before I was in the place, I fasted like a whole bunch, and since I've been in here, I haven't been fasting as much. I just recently did one, but my point being, I was still able to. Some people don't even have any idea what it's like to give up something. You know what I mean? So what they gonna do in that day when it's scarce to find food? They don't even know. You know what I mean? So like I said, I can't. I mean, I heard brothers sitting up there talking about like sometimes they don't even want like the Lord would bless them with money, and you know they saw themselves fucking up, because they studying less. They uh, they being more carnal in the world. And I literally heard a brother say he couldn't wait till he was done with the money because he was like, he was feeling like he was becoming that old man again. So that's why it says in the scriptures to bless me with food and raiment. And I think I'm like these two different scriptures, but it's one that says, "Bless me with my food and raiment, and what's sufficient for me." You know what I mean? Like everybody, you got some people that's better off than others in this truth, but what's sufficient for you. You know what I mean? Anyhow, let me get into this. It says, in order to understand what may happen in the future, we can turn to the past and learn from our own history. And over the thousands of years since humanity developed agriculture and began settling in burgeoning, burgeoning towns and cities, numerous civilizations have collapsed and disappeared. Now, ain't that the spirit? I just was saying. In fact, the sustained development and technological progress of our own civilization over many centuries is something of an anomaly in history. So, what cataclysmic event could potentially trigger an apocalypse in our own future? And crucially, what might we do today to preserve the seed of our modern knowledge to allow survivors to reboot civilization again as quickly as possible? And this is Esau's, you know, mentality and his, his thinking. He really thinks, like that's how you know that they know something is bigger. You know what I mean? Like, and then you got to remember Esau know the scriptures. You know what I mean? They got the wealth and they've had the time to go, to show you how full of shit everything is. They look at us, look, we crazy because we call him the name Yahweh by Yashem, Yahweh Shah. But yet still, I was watching a video on YouTube about the lost lunar stone, and it was an Edomite. He appeared to be look like an Edomite, blind hair, blue eye, pale skin. And he was up there reading that stone, and you know what he said the name of the Most High God was? You know how he pronounced it? Yahweh.